Alright, hey everyone. Okay, so the Sonic movie trailer just dropped a few hours ago, and there's actually quite a lot of hidden Easter eggs and references in it, so I figured what would be quite cool is to just do a little short video to go through the trailer and see if we can find all the Easter eggs and references that the filmmakers have actually included, because whilst there's some obvious ones and there's some clear stuff there for Sonic fans, there's also some other quite obscure references as well, so I think it would be fun to kind of go through them. So with that out of the way, let's get on with it. So the first one is obvious. We've got the Green Hill Zone. Yeah, it's a reference, yeah, it's the setting, but it's there. And you can tell it's the Green Hill Zone because you've got the totem poles here, and you've got some of that other old architecture that sometimes appears in it. It's the Green Hill Zone, because of course it is. So of course the first town that Sonic arrives in and runs through is called Green Hills, which is Earth's variant of Green Hill Zone, because obviously he's just come from the Green Hill Zone on his planet to the Earth's version of Green Hill Zone, which is a little town called Green Hills. So then we move on to Sonic's underground home, should we call it? And there's actually a few references in here, and some of them are quite creative and well hidden. So here's the first one. So this may or may not be a reference, but either way, it's still a very funny little sight gag if you're quite familiar with Sonic lore and history. So Sonic's running in the tumble dryer, however, he really shouldn't be doing that, because in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, there was actually a safety PSA in which Sonic warned us not to play in tumble dryers. Naughty Sonic. Obviously this is a prequel to Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. But the tumble dryer might actually be a reference to something else, something a little bit more older and obscure. In Fleetway Sonic the comic, and also in the original Sonic Origin comic, there's a sequence that shows how Sonic went from a brown hedgehog to a blue hedgehog, and this happens by him climbing inside a giant machine that looks a lot like a giant tumble dryer, running so fast that he actually breaks the sound barrier and destroys the machine. The explosion then turns Sonic blue, which creates the iconic Sonic the Hedgehog that we all know and love. So this might be a slight nod to that, maybe. It's a bit difficult to tell, but it's fun to speculate. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. And during the underground sequence, we see Sonic reading the entire early first print of The Flash, and of course The Flash was advertised as being the fastest man alive, and Sonic calls himself the fastest thing alive, and there's often been jokes about who's faster, Sonic or The Flash, so it's nice that they've put a little nod and a little reference here to another really fast superhero. So then we see Sonic playing table tennis on his own, or ping pong, and there's another really cool reference. If you actually look at the table when the camera pans up, it says it's the Hilltop Road. And of course that's a reference to Sonic 2, in which one of the zones is called the Hilltop Zone. So yeah, that's a nice little nod that they've put in there. That's pretty cool. So during this opening montage, or it kind of looks like an old 80s training montage actually, Sonic gets some nunchakus, or nunchuckers, however you want to pronounce them, and he's pretending to be something from an old 80s kung fu movie. But if you actually look at his sweatband, it has the little emblem thing from Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 and all those classic Sonic games on there. And that looks really cool. I hope they release that as an actual piece of merch. I wasn't sure if Sonic's actions here is supposed to be a small nod or parody to Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. It's very possible that it is that, but the first thing that actually came to my mind was, due to the headband, it reminded me a lot of Daniel LaRusso from the original Karate Kid series, because if you look at the headband that Daniel LaRusso wears in that movie and compare it to the Sonic one, it's extremely similar in terms of design. So I think it's probably parodying Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, but also at the same time parodying what Daniel wears in the Karate Kid. Again, it's another little obscure reference there. So when Sonic's playing baseball, we hear a reference to his title theme, which again sounds really cool, but also there's actually some references here in the baseball game. If you look at the green cap that Sonic wears at one point, it has the initials G and H etched into it, which of course is going to stand for Green Hills, or Green Hill, which is the name of the town that Sonic ends up in. So there's a potential second reference here actually, but it's really obscure and I'm not 100% sure what it's actually a reference to. At one point there's a clip of Sonic wearing a red baseball cap. Now you can only get a good look at this in about 2 or 3 frames in the actual video, and I've had to zoom in a lot to try and get a clear image of it, but you can make out what the initials are on top of the baseball cap, and it looks to say S and U. Now in relation to Sonic, this could be absolutely anything. It could be Sonic Underground, or even Sonic Unleashed. It could be a reference to that, but yeah, it's not 100% clear what's that's a reference to, unless I completely had a mind blank and there is blatantly a red themed zone that has the words S and U in there. Please let me know in the comments on that one. So we move further on and we get to the infamous meow scene, which has now been heavily edited, and now Sonic appears to be holding a golden ring in this scene, which is interesting because he wasn't holding that before in the original edit, which had Manhog of the Sonic in there. So it looks like this has changed a little bit. Maybe it's a genuine gold ring, maybe it's not, we don't know, we're gonna have to wait and find out. But yeah, Sonic with a golden ring, everybody. And then we get our first look at the military, and also that they're using a series of drone-like robots. Now, I assume that these drone-like robots are Dr. Robotnik's creations, but the drones are actually very similar to the Beetle class of enemies from Sonic Adventure. They're not exactly like them, but it is a very close match, and also I do sort of like a little bit how they're egg-shaped, so yeah, Dr. Robotnik is making egg-shaped robots. So then we get our first look at Dr. Robotnik in this movie. Now, Robotnik's design looks nothing like he does in the video game, but what's interesting is how he appears on screen. He steps out of a giant black truck, which looks very similar to the gun truck from Sonic Adventure 2, and also the city escape stage in Sonic Generations. So it's nice to see that the gun truck got some representation in the movie. So there's a small scene in which Robotnik starts looking for Sonic, and if you pause it just as he's outside of the mailbox, if you zoom in on the mailbox, there's a couple of references to actual things that appear later in the movie, or at least the trailer. Now, the name on the mailbox, I wasn't 100% sure on this, but it almost looks like the word hedgehog, at least the first 3 letters of it spell that out. Couldn't quite make out the last ones, at least not at the resolution I'm currently looking at. But also it looks like the mailbox has the dog on it that we'll see a little bit later, so I thought that was a nice little thing to add there. And of course we get Jim Carrey as Robotnik dancing. Now, this isn't that unusual as cringeworthy as it is to watch. We have seen Eggman dance before. In fact, he's danced as recently as Team Sonic Racing Overdrive, where he does a victory dance at the end of that, and also he kind of does some occasional dances or celebrations depending if you get a game over or not in certain games. So this is a nice little reference. We've got Sonic here in disguise, and yeah, I know this is kind of a really old and not very good trope in which the character who is like an alien or mutant whatever wears a really bad disguise and completely blends in and fools everyone, but let's not forget, in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic would often wear really terrible disguises, so I don't know if it's a reference to that, but yeah, we've seen this kind of thing with Sonic before in other media. So when they're being chased by Eggman's giant tank, if you actually look at the centre of the tank, there's that giant red eye. Now, this red eye is quite common on a lot of Eggman mechs, and yeah, it's again another kind of tropey thing for generic robots in that they're usually given evil-looking red eyes. If you think to something like the Terminator, that's got red eyes. But I kind of like this because it reminded me a lot of the red eye that's actually in the Death Egg on various stages from previous Sonic titles. So this is a really nice little reference. After Sonic takes out the tank that's chasing them, he does a little victory dance. We see Sonic do victory dances whenever we complete a stage in virtually any recent Sonic game, and we get a decent rank. He will always do a little victory dance, so it's nice to see that they've added that in there as a thing. Whenever Sonic does something which is good, achieved a victory, he does a little celebration dance. So there's a very short scene that we see in which Sonic's being chased through the city by Eggman. And of course, Eggman is in the Egg-O-Matic, or at least the movie equivalent. Now, I want to say that I have seen this design in a Sonic game, but I cannot think which one it is. At first I thought it was the Egg Hornet, but I don't know, it's not quite the same. But let me know, guys, I'm having a bit of a memory block at the moment. I can't remember. Has this design actually appeared in a video game? Please let me know in the comments. So there's a scene in which they're in a motel room, and there's so much going on here, it's near impossible to focus on everything that's happening. But there's 2 really incredible references in here. Now, the first one is if you look at the shelf on the back wall, Sonic actually stands on the shelf, and the animation that he's doing there is when Sonic is balancing on a ledge. It's the exact same animation from the video game, so that's an awesome little reference. But there's actually a second reference in here, and this one is amazingly obscure unless your movie knowledge is good. So if you look at the right of the screen, you can see there's a TV set, and Sonic jumps up and rapidly changes the channel. Now, the first thing that's actually on the channel is a short movie called Go for Broke, which has some direct connections to the Sonic movie itself, because if you look in the credits for Go for Broke, you can see that both Tim Miller and Jeff Fowler, who are the director and producer of the Sonic movie, were also involved in the creation of the movie Go for Broke. So that is one very very, very good blink and you'll miss it reference. But if you then keep your eyes on the TV and slow down the footage, you can see there's a number of adverts. Now, the first few adverts aren't quite clear. There's one which looks like a ketchup bottle, but you can't make out the brand. But the very last one looks like it could actually be a bit of product placement, because the logo for Enterprise Car Hire actually appears just before the scene cuts. So it looks like this could be the first potential big piece of product placement that we found in the movie. So the final section of the trailer, we get the clip of Robotnik chasing Sonic through the desert and across the Great Wall of China. Like I said earlier, the mech is the movie version of Eggman's Egg-O-Matic, but the sequence where Sonic is running across the Great Wall of China, that whole section is just ripped completely from Sonic Unleashed from Dragon Road Act 1. So that's all the references and hidden Easter eggs that I could find. I'm pretty sure there's probably some more in the movie, and there might be one or two more in the trailer, so if I have missed any, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to go back and have a look again. But what was your favourite Easter egg or reference that was in the trailer? Please let me know. And yeah, you can bring in ones from the first trailer if you like, but I just wanted to focus on trailer 2 for this video. So anyway guys, let me know which of these references and Easter eggs was your favourite, and if I have missed any as well, please let me know in the comments which one I missed, because I'd love to go back and have a look myself. If you saw something in this video that you didn't spot the first time round, why not smash that like button, and also subscribe and click the bell notification to stay updated whenever I post new updates and new content. Thanks very much for watching guys, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.